Hello, Squirrel Tribe. So we're going to have an uncomfortable conversation today because these conversations need to be had. You may know that the Olympics, the 2024 Olympics in Paris, will kick off in 23 days. July the 26th will be day one through August 11th of the Olympics. And what I find interesting is that this year, the focus of the Olympics for a lot of people is going to be how many men are portraying themselves as women so that they can be in the Olympics in the women's category, because they couldn't quite cut it in the male category. You know, we've talked about this before. The reason I'm bringing this up is because the irony of irony. There was a post that I somehow came across. I don't know how this popped up in any of my searches, but trans non-binary athlete Nikki Hiltz is going to the Olympics. So I see this and I look at the picture, and I'm going to show you the picture of Nikki Hiltz, and I see this and my brain is going, is this a guy or is this a girl? I could not figure out if this is a man or a woman based off visuals and then based off of what this article is talking about. So according to this, Hiltz secured their place in the U.S. Olympic team with a breathtaking win in the women's 1,500 meter race at the U.S. Olympic track and field trials. All right, cool. That's all we need to know. Hiltz, a biological female, identifying as transgender non-binary. I'm very, very confused. How can you be transgender and non-binary at the same time? If you're transgender, then you are saying that you are a woman who identifies as a man. But if you're non-binary, then you don't identify as anything. So how can you compete in a female category, even a male category, if you don't consider yourself a male or a female? Very, very confused on how that works. Maybe it's just me. I feel like it's not just me. But if you're non-binary, you're not a he, you're not a she, you consider yourself a they, there is no category for they in the Olympics. There is no they's basketball team or they's swim team or anything else like that. Now, I will say that although this person who was born as a female is competing with females. So at least there's that. At least this person isn't trying to compete where they shouldn't belong. But you have to think about it also. This female who considers themselves transgender, non-binary, you would think if you consider yourself transgender, you'd want to compete with the boys. But they would also know they're at a complete disadvantage as a female going against boys, right? Which is why a lot of men are considering themselves women so that they can be in a easier section. Again, this is according to the mass majority of people's thinking, that it's easier to win in a women's sport than it is in a man's sport because you have more testosterone here, less of it over here, and whatnot. So this person is going to the Olympics, all right? And I was very curious about some of the Olympics qualifications or requirements or whatever else on how this really truly works if you are non-binary, if you're transgender, if you're a guy, if you're a girl, whatever else. So I started looking a couple different things up. And first off, I would like to point out that y'all know that Riley Gaines, again, I've spoken about her before. She was the University of Kentucky swim team in 2022. She has been very, very outspoken on the fact that that Leah Thompson person was awarded a medal or some sort for a swim event when technically they are a man swimming in a women's team, and that was taken away from Leah Thompson. That was taken away completely, which I think is absolutely amazing. I don't think men should be allowed to win medals in women's sports and take away spots where women belong, right? So according to this, I was curious, how does testing work at the Olympics? How do they test? Because, you know, you get tested like in weight train or bodybuilding and things like that. You get tested for steroids. You get tested for all these other things. So I was curious how they test people at the Olympics to see, are you a boy or are you a girl, right? So sex testing at the Olympics. Sex testing has evolved from visual inspection. It used to just be pull down your pants, let me see if you have a meat and potatoes or a taco, basically how it went, you know. To quote the kid from Kindergarten Cop, boys have a penis, girls have a vagina. That's pretty much all you need to know. You pull the pants down, there's a penis, you're a guy, you're with the guys team. Pull the pants down, there's a vagina, you're a girl, you're with the girls team. There was no, but I feel so pretty in a women's dress, even though I have, you know, meat and potatoes. I want to go compete with the girls. That's not how it works. If you have one, that's where you belong. And if you have the other, that's where you belong. So mandatory sex testing was banned in the 90s. Each sports international federation gets to decide athlete eligibility, which is the new thing. According to this, so let's see. Ahead of the 2024 Paris Olympics, the world's best athletes will face trial runs, drug tests, and even sex evaluations, a practice that some deem restrictive and discriminatory. Those people are stupid. Everything should be tested to make sure you are who you say you are, make sure you're not on any kind of performance-enhancing drug, any of those things. It needs to be a fair playing field, right? The 2024 spectacle has already gained attention after World Aquatics banned Leah Thomas, that's her name, Leah Thomas, a transgender swimmer from Texas, surprisingly, from competing against her peers in the upcoming Summer Games. It's because it's a man. Again, you can call yourself Leah, you can put some lipstick on, but you're still a man. Everything about you is still a man. Just because you're trying to compete with girls does not change anything. Now, though it's currently making waves, there's nearly a century of history surrounding gender evaluation and eligibility for the Olympic Games. So sex testing, which I think is great. Sex testing came about in the 40s. And it says here that the verification or gender verification is a process that aims to confirm an athlete's assigned sex at birth and disclose any changes since, right? As the decades went on, the process evolved to include physical examinations, chromosome testing, and testosterone level testing. This is according to the National Library of Medicine reports. And it says, here, they're saying mandatory sex testing for the Olympics was banned in 1999. While there is no Olympic code requiring athletes to confirm their identity, the International Olympic Committee has left sex and gender to the discretion of each sport's governing body. So certain sports in the Olympics are like willy-nilly. If you say you have a taco, but you got meat and potatoes, it's fine. Go ahead and swim wherever you want or run wherever you want or whatever, with whatever team you want. They don't care. And other ones are like, no, we're sticking strictly dickly. If you got a penis, you're going with the boys, and if you don't, you got a vagina, you're going with the girls. Now, through the IOC, which is the International Olympic Committee, they recommend international federations follow its 10-step framework method to assess eligibility. Federations are not required to abide by those principles when making a decision. Now, the whole interesting thing is that they have decided in 2016, the International Olympic Committee, IOC, advised that transgender athletes can compete without undergoing surgery, making history in the sports world. So since 2016, you were allowed to put on a women's bathing suit and tuck your junk up in it, might be why Target came out with the tuck bathing suits so people could practice. You're allowed to have all of the male components shoved into a women's bathing suit and jump in with the girls. You're allowed to have all of your male components shoved into your little bikini bottoms and run track and field. All these different things that are extremely unfair. And I don't care if people are like, fair isn't whatever, life's unfair, blah, 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 blah. It's unfair. At the end of the day, it's unfair. The more you allow these men to walk into women's sports, the less women you're going to have interested in these sports. They're not going to want to start playing at a young age, get all the way up to the Olympic arena, and then be told that some guy beat them, right? And so they don't get to go to the Olympics. Parents aren't going to want to pay that kind of money to put their kids in these sports and through all these things if they know that any boy could just come in and decide they want to be on the team as well. Not to mention the whole situation of if you don't have to have, your genitals switched out for whoever you're trying to pretend you are, that now you have, again, a locker room full of women with some dude, meat and potatoes out, trying to stand and pee at the toilet while everybody else is sitting down. It becomes awkward and not comfortable, right? People want to say that you can't say that, rape and sexual assault and stuff like that is a big thing with transgender community, but do we know? Would they really put those numbers out? Plus, a lot of those people, and yes, I'm saying those people, a lot of those people that want to walk around like they are women are just dudes who want to be able to go into women's restrooms and do creepy things. I know you guys have seen some of the pictures, some of the videos of these grown-ass men that look just like straight up men with lipstick plastered over their face and a dress on, hairy chest, hasn't done anything else but wants to pretend to be a woman just so they can make people uncomfortable and get into the places they shouldn't be. Now, there was this person named Chris Mosier. I went to the Olympics, has their own website, right, of all the sports that are coming up, the people that are competing and whatever else. And I went to this Olympic website and there's this person named Chris Mosier. Was a woman. Okay, this is a bicycle or a triathlon. So the bicycle and running and swimming and all that stuff. Chris Mosier was a woman, felt like they were a man, so decided to transition to a man, won a lot of races as a man, all right, and qualified for the Olympics as a man. But the problem, according to Chris, is that in order to participate in the Olympics at the time, full lower surgery had to be performed so that the genitalia matched the pronoun. And Chris said they were asking that he, she, this is the quote, modify my body in a way that I didn't want to. So my question is, how can you compete as a man when you still have the parts of a woman? How can you call yourself a man when you pee out of a vagina? How can you expect male treatment when you don't even truly want to be a male? This person that was born a woman didn't want to change their genitalia so that they were actually a man, but they wanted to call themselves a transgender. They wanted to call themselves a man. They wanted to compete with the men. They wanted to do everything to make themselves part of, manlyhood, except for the one thing that a penis that, men have. How is that okay? Now, because of 2016, the Olympics have changed it so your genitalia doesn't need to match who you decide you want to be. This Chris Mosier person gets to do these triathlons with a vagina instead of meat and potatoes. And my question is that easier? Because he, she, whatever, it has been winning all these things. You got to think about it. Is it easier to ride on a bike for 50 miles when you don't have to worry about squishing your junk? Maybe that's an advantage that this Chris Mosier has because they have a vagina, even though they have facial hair and cut off their boobs and, deepen their voice a little bit. Is it easier to run when you don't have to worry about squishing things in between your thighs while you run? All these different advantages, right? Same thing on the flip side. These men who decide that they want to compete against women, but they don't want to cut their junk off because you know how boys like to play with things. They don't have to do those things. And then they have the testosterone. They have all this other stuff in their system. Does that automatic advantage for them versus women? I want to watch the Olympics. I really do. But at the same time, I don't want to be pissed off while I'm trying to watch these women compete and do amazing things. So these are the sports that will allow trans athletes at the Paris Olympics, because I was very curious, like which sports are brainwashed and stupid and allowing stuff like this. And according to this, let me see if I can pull this up. So in the IOC, the International Olympic Committee, changed its rules in November of 2021 to allow individual sports to determine whether trans athletes can compete. So again, it's not across the board. Each individual sport has their own governing body, and they get to sit down and decide yay or nay if they want to allow trans people into the competition. I can guarantee you that some of these people are probably saying yes because it will bring more focus and attention to a sport. It'll have more eyes on the sport, whether it's for good press or bad press. It doesn't matter. Press is still press, or however the phrase goes. So you're going to have a lot of these people that are allowing this in because they know that it's going to bring spectators, whether it is to gawk or make fun of or laugh, or it's to cheer it on or whatever else. So according to this, a survey of elite British sportswomen published earlier this year found more than 70% were uncomfortable with trans athletes competing in female categories. But here's the problem. They don't ask women if they're uncomfortable having men in their locker room, if they're uncomfortable having men in their sports arena with them. They don't ask women because we're somehow slowly reverting back to the dark ages where women's opinions and bodies and thoughts and minds don't matter to anybody, and it's absolute trash. The only ones it matters to, which is ironic, are the men pretending to be women. How come those women get a say, but the actual ones who are legitimate women have no say in how this goes? I'm very not okay with all of this, just so we're all fully aware. I'm trying to see over the past 3 years. I could have sworn it told me in here who was which ones, y'all, I'm having a moment because I know I read it on which ones we're going to allow. Listen to this. Trans women are already underrepresented in elite level sport. Underrepresented, it's because it's not a thing. If you want to have your own trans, there's Special Olympics, right? There's Paralympics. Give yourself some Trans Olympics, where all you dudes with meat and potatoes but a dress on want to pretend to be women. Y'all can compete in your own thing. And all the women who decide that they want to, be dudes but keep their vaginas, or however this all goes, y'all can compete in your own thing too. Or they should be in the Special Olympics. I mean, technically, because it is a mental disability at that point. Is that not how this works? Anyway, I'm trying to find the place. Okay, so according to this, which Olympic sports have banned trans women? At least 10 Olympic sports have restricted the participation of trans athletes in female categories. Just go ahead and clap for those 10. World Rowing has issued a near blanket ban on the participation of trans women in female categories, while the World of Boxing Council does not allow any trans athletes to participate, which is cool. The world bodies of athletics, cycling, swimming, rugby, and cricket have banned trans women from competing in female categories if, here's the loophole and the frickin' kicker, if they underwent puberty before starting their transition. So what that means is if a boy wants to be a girl at 8, then they're fine with it, which is why there's now such a push for letting children go through all this stuff, because at that point they're allowed to be in the Olympics as whatever sex they want to be. So think about that. Think about the fact that as long as you decided to transition before your balls dropped, you can now be a girl and you can now make it into the Olympics. But heaven forbid you've gotten your first boner, then no, you can't do it because your puberty hit, so you're definitely a dude. That's why there is such a push. I mean, that's probably one reason. It's not the whole reason, obviously, but I'm sure that's why there is allowed such a push in certain states to allow these minors to be genetically modified, because that's what they're doing to these children. They're going through and butchering them and messing up their hormones and everything else at such a young age, because, you know, you have mom and dad who really wanted a star football player who was going to make it to the NFL, but little Bobby can't catch a football to save his life. So instead, we'll make him Betty, and he can swim instead, or he can do this instead. But first, we have to make sure his balls don't drop and he never gets a boner. So go ahead and turn him into a girl so we can make sure that our cash cow in the future is available. Okay. The governing bodies for the triathlon, tennis, and archery require testosterone levels to be suppressed within a specified limit. So tennis, you can have some dude, can you imagine some dude in a little tennis skirt with his full meat and potatoes because he didn't want to do the whole thing, but lipstick on his face and fake little softball boobies put in, bouncing around on a tennis court? That would just be absolutely atrocious. I'm not even gonna lie. There is some comedic looking stuff out there, but I think that would be, once you got done laughing, you would be beyond disgusted and just horrified at the whole thing. Other sporting bodies such as Badminton World Federation have said they will consider trans athletes on a case-by-case basis. I'm guessing if they're attractive enough, they'll let them in, because then who wants an ugly chick, right? Like, what does a case-by-case basis mean? Anyway, while FIFA, Global Soccer's governing body, announced in 2022 that it would review its policy. So at some point, you may even have girls who decide they wanted to be boys so they could be in soccer, or vice versa, guys who couldn't make it into the guys league, so they want to, again, pretend that they're a girl so they can make it into the girls soccer league with whoever. Oh, it is such a huge issue to me. I don't understand. American swimmer Leah Thomas, who became the first trans athlete to win a National Collegiate Athletic Association NCAA title in 2022, launched legal action against World Aquatics after its updated policy excluded her from competing in the Olympics. And they've taken her title away from the person, taken its title away. I don't even know how to do this anymore, because it doesn't belong there. It belongs to whoever came in second place, which should have been the actual first place, because that was the actual woman, right? Now, the other thing that I came across here is sporting events that are being removed from the Olympics in 2024, which I thought were very telling. They have gotten rid of karate and baseball. Two sports, in my opinion, they're very heavily male dominated. Obviously baseball, it's for dudes. You don't have enough dudes anymore. You have too many guys who want to be girls. But they even got rid of softball, because can you imagine the absolute backlash if the Olympic softball team, especially a Team USA Olympic softball team, was made up of he's who thought they were she's? I mean, literally, people would lose their ever-loving minds. I would be at the front of the crowd being like, you know what, this is not going to work. They're getting rid of them. They're bringing in other ones. What was it? They're bringing in breaking, which is a dancing thing. They're bringing in breaking, surfing. Oh, there's two more and I can't remember what they were. Oh, sport climbing and skateboarding. Now, skateboarding used to be like an X Games thing. They had their own thing, but now it's going into the Olympics, which is cool. Skateboarding is like some legit talent and lack of fear there. So you have skateboarding, surfing, sport climbing, and breaking. They're now taking over for softball, karate, and baseball. American pastimes, well, not really karate, but softball, baseball, American pastimes out the door, and new, younger, hip things making their way into the Olympics. Again, Paris Olympics start off Friday, July 26th, go through August 11th, and you're going to see certain categories that are going to be touting which players or athletes or whatever are transgender. I can guarantee you it's not going to be, here's, you know, our natural born women, blah, 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 and transgender, blah, blah, blah. It's going to be, here's these girls and look at this hero, this transgender who's made it onto the team. Because it's such a huge push. And I still think it's absolutely atrocious that they're allowing it into the Olympics. I don't care what country it is. I think it's absolutely atrocious. No man should be competing with females. Females should not compete with men, plain and simple. They need to have their own things for a reason. But it's disheartening that there's so many people that are allowed to take this mental disorder and take it to such a main stage and a huge platform as the Olympics. And again, the very first person I talked about, Nikki Hiltz, I don't know if they're confused or if they understand their confusion, because how can you call yourself transgender and non-binary at the same time? And because if you're non-binary, again, you're not a he, you don't identify as a he or a she, so how are you competing with a she team? There is no they team. I don't know. It drives me bonkers. All of this drives me crazy. I don't understand it. I think it's absolutely stupid. And there's more stuff we should talk about, but I wanted to bring this to your attention because it irks the living crap out of me that there are so many ways that they are taking away things from women. Like, first your body, now your sports. It's just everything's going poof out the window, right? And it gets to be a lot when you sit back and think about the fact that at the end of the day, men can pretty much do whatever they want. And if they want to be women, then you can't stop them. Although they're still not women. It's just, y'all, it's just ridiculous. All of it's ridiculous and it drives me crazy. That's it. Thank you for letting me have this random conversation with y'all and let me just, rant a little bit, because sometimes it's needed, and today was one of those days. I love you immensely, Squirrel Tribe. I will see you again later. Have a fabulous rest of your day. Goodbye.